Cybercrime and cyber threats are evolving really rapidly. 10 years ago, if Yahoo crashed or eBay crashed, it was probably some disaffected teenager in his garage or his bedroom that was doing it for bragging rights. And around 2003, it really professionalized and became the work of organized crime. Initially to support the work of spammers whose IP addresses were getting blacklisted more effectively. So they needed these botnets, all these drone computers, to send spam from all over the world. And these botnets still exist today and have become sort of the crucial tool for criminal elements and for nation states that are attacking other countries. So if we talk about the threat today, there are a few of them. Certainly the one that gets the headlines these days is the threat of cyber war. Russia, China, somebody else that doesn't like us can wipe out our power grid, knock planes out of the skies, that sort of thing. I don't think, that doesn't keep me up at night. Those capabilities are out there, certainly insofar as elements of the power grid, but you know, we also have nuclear weapons, and so do the other guys. Nobody wants to use them. I also don't feel that terrorism, which has gotten a lot of attention from the Pentagon, is that sophisticated in terms of their cyber tools at the moment. That could change. I really think that the strongest threat right now is of economic espionage, and there it's the Chinese and other countries that are really advanced in this, and they're taking pretty much whatever they want. The other big problem, though, and the one that's addressed very clearly in my book, is organized crime, often in cahoots with nation states. In my book, I talk about a couple of groups in Russia that have wreaked havoc on the financial system in the U.S. are continuing to adapt. These are the guys that started out doing spam and then denial of service attacks, where they shut down websites in exchange for money. And then they moved on to identity theft and mass credit card fraud. And they're having a much freer way with the banking system than they used to. The amount of money being lost by U.S. banks to organized criminals overseas through banking Trojans like Zeus is astronomical. And these people are by and large protected by the governments of places like Russia and, at least in the past, Ukraine, because the same people and their networks and their computers are being used for political attacks. In Russia, the same people were used to attack Estonia and Georgia, and they're also used to attack internal opponents of the Kremlin. Cyber war capabilities are spreading and were dramatically brought home to everybody with the Stuxnet worm, which just a month or so ago was revealed to have had significant impact on the Iranian nuclear program. We don't know exactly how big the impact was, but it was dramatic enough that the Iranian government fessed up that it had been hurt and ran around arresting people, and they called it cyber war, and it is cyber war. It's pretty clear to me that a nation state was behind it. Suspects include Israel and the U.S. There's a longer list than that, and there isn't any definitive proof. But Stuxnet is a big deal. It's a game changer. It's the first time that a cyber attack, a self-propagating computer program, was used to attack a physical facility and harm a physical facility. This isn't just theory anymore. In the past, the attacks in Georgia and Estonia and the like, it was communications networks, government websites, that sort of thing, but nothing blowing up. Stuxnet, if it had been tweaked differently, could actually blow something up. And there is an extreme risk that the code will be modified by others that have the know-how to do it. Now, it's a sophisticated piece of programming. They used, the people report for, it was actually 3 zero-day vulnerabilities in Microsoft to get into Windows, and they were good 0 days, some of them. It took a long time for Microsoft to patch. But that was just the ante. They didn't even care about Windows. They were just looking for programs with the tiny minority of Windows machines that were running certain software from Siemens that could control physical processes in a nuclear plant or refinery or something like that. And then once within that, it was looking for a certain configuration, and then it changed the orders, hit itself, and then changed the orders in bytecode. So if this valve reading is X, then you should do Y, but you shouldn't let the humans running the plant know that what's happening. It was really, really impressive. We're going to see more of it, I strongly believe, and it's unfortunately really hurt what were already struggling efforts to come to some sort of international agreement about what sort of cyber arms deployment is justifiable. If you ask which is more important, the social engineering or the hardcore computer programming, unfortunately, there's sort of a feast in both areas. I mean, social engineering is very easy. In the Aurora attacks on Google and others, social engineering was where the big development effort was. They got into Google by isolating a systems administrator that had access to authorized access within Google to things that the hackers wanted, and then they looked at his social network, and then they found somebody whose account they could compromise, and that person appeared to send the target an instant message via Microsoft Instant Messenger, and that had the link that, when clicked on, triggered the zero-day infiltration. With the prevalence of social networks now, it is very, very easy to do that sort of social engineering, and it's very hard to stop. The presence of thumb drives, flash drives that you just stick into your USB port makes it very easy. One common trick is just leaving them out in the parking lot, and you'd be surprised how many people pick it up and say, "Oh, what's this?" and plug it into their network. And if it's a good Trojan, it won't even reveal. There's no indication that anything wrong has happened. You can't tell anymore. It used to be, you could think that you're all right unless your computer slowed down or started spewing pop-ups or something like that. Now that's not the case. The good stuff is much stealthier than that, and most of the antivirus increasingly won't catch it. Likewise, there is an endless number of vulnerabilities in Windows machines in particular, but many other programs that run on top of Windows that people haven't patched. More than 90% of Windows machines are running some kind of program with a known critical vulnerability that has not been patched. Companies and people don't take it upon themselves to update absolutely everything all the time, and most of the program makers don't force updates on their users. So it's actually very easy to break into anything you want. It's very hard to penetrate the fog of what's going on in cybersecurity. It's hard to get real information, and in part because the stuff is legitimately complicated. It's complicated politically, it's complicated in terms of the balance of world powers. It's very hard for law enforcement to do its job when most of the bad guys are in other countries. And yet nobody wants to tell you that. The computer companies want you to buy more computers. Most businesses want you to buy more online. There's nobody with an incentive to tell you that things are really unsafe and getting less safe. And I have yet to meet a law enforcement officer that wants to call a press conference and announce that he can't catch anyone. So they don't really tell you what's going on either. But the truth of the matter is that it is the internet was not designed with security in mind. And now it's kind of too late, because people are doing more stuff online. Businesses are doing more stuff online, and we have a real problem. There are some interesting experiments that have a small amount of funding to come up with a more secure protocol that would succeed TCP/IP, not displace it entirely, but would make transactions and other sensitive communications online more secure. And I think we need to be putting a lot more money behind that, because the way things are going, online commerce is at significant risk, and it's been one of the major drivers of the economy.